Good morning, you cheeky bastards. Welcome aboard the cheeky yacht where we are essentially going to be talking a little bit around XRP, the things that you need to know and to why you should potentially be buying and holding XRP for the longer term. Now, XRP, as you know, has been in the news a lot since 2020. We saw the SEC ridiculously drop a lawsuit on XRP, well, more specifically on Ripple, affecting all XRP investors. We saw $13 billion of damages almost straight off the bat. And well, things have got interesting over the last 4 years. Lots of progression with the SEC versus Ripple and lots of fantastic price appreciation yet to come. Now, we can argue that holding XRP for the last 4 years has been, let's just say, emotional. And I think that for the most part is a part and part of the crypto space. Now, for XRP, I think it's critically important that we do think about what is next, right? As we've been in this lawsuit with Ripple and the SEC for over 4 years, it is due to come to conclusion. We are likely to see the end of this case in 2024, early 2025. And that in itself has a huge opportunity and huge potential for some fantastic gains in the coming months. I think that holding XRP is an educated punt, something that I think is worth every retail investor kind of exploring. Now, where do I think things are going? I think in the short to medium term, we should expect more volatility for XRP. I don't think that we're going to see an immediate kind of flick of the switch moonshot for XRP to the upside, at least not until the case is settled. And I do think it is a settlement that we're most likely going to see. It's very unlikely that the SEC are going to be willing to let the case kind of go to trial and run the risk of losing, because in my opinion, there's a high probability that the case would be lost if that is the case. I do think, though, that the settlement is the most probable scenario. It all depends on whether Ripple and Brad Garlinghouse specifically is going to actually let that happen, because I think he holds all the cards at the moment. Now, as I said, I'm expecting more price volatility. I'm expecting XRP to be very volatile over the next few weeks. I do expect us to see some fantastic opportunities to dollar cost average, as we are lower than its 200-day exponential moving average at the moment. This is huge opportunity for anyone who hasn't yet built their positions in XRP, and it's a huge opportunity for anyone who's still looking to build out even bigger positions, even though they potentially have been dollar cost averaging since 2019-2020. We saw some pretty good gains in 2021, but I think what's about to happen is going to dwarf all of that. I do see in XRP's future a good $12 run, and that could be just the beginning. Obviously, there's lots of speculation that we can go into in regards to whether or not there is going to be a widespread adoption from the banking sector for XRP, whether they are going to utilize it for cross-border payments and instant settlements. If they do, then we are going to see trillions of dollars in use case for XRP. But it is a long shot, and I want to urge everyone that it is a long shot. And if that were to unfold, then the price potential is almost unlimited. But I do want to kind of urge everyone to understand a little bit more about the economics behind all of this. Because if we were to see XRP being utilized for settlement, real-time settlement across borders, then we are likely to see, unfortunately, a more stable price in the longer term. Now, what that price might be could be up for debate. We might see it as $10, $100, $10,000. Right? The price in itself doesn't matter. It's all to do with liquidity, right? Liquidity is absolutely critically everything when it comes to price action. And if we have an incredibly highly liquid market, as RippleNet and as Ripple described the future of XRP, that actually means stable. Okay, so we want to be really open-minded that we want to catch the volatility whilst you can, meaning that you want to kind of dollar cost average, build out those positions whilst you can in terms of the volatility that we are seeing right now, because we are super early. Being as early as we are in the crypto market gives us huge opportunities to build fantastic positions ahead of what happens next. Now, for the future, like I say, I think in the next few months after the case is settled, we're probably going to see that $5 to $12 shot for XRP. What happens afterwards, once we have clarity and an understanding behind whether or not XRP is a security or whether XRP is in fact not a security, as many of the other countries around the world, it's just the US that are a little bit laggy in that regard, could potentially give institutional investors the green light to actually start utilizing the product. Because then you have a framework, an understanding as to kind of how you are going to navigate the wonderful world of regulations in the US. Without that clarity, you become potentially a little bit hindered. You don't necessarily know exactly where you are likely to kind of end up in the next 1 to 2 years. You might have, someone like a Jay Clayton or, a Brad Garlinghouse kind of telling you opposite opinions. Now, obviously, Jay Clayton dropped the lawsuit on Ripple, classing XRP as a security. Now, obviously, the judge, Torres, obviously has disagreed with elements of that when it comes to the secondary market. And so we do see huge potential for some significant runs to the upside once we actually get conclusion of this case altogether. Now, things don't stop there when it comes to XRP and Ripple either. We have seen Brad Garlinghouse in the news most recently discussing whether or not the US government are going after USDT, Tether. And of course, he says this and he brings this up to kind of, bring it to everyone's attention that there are issues over with the stablecoin itself. But fear not, because Brad Garlinghouse, Ripple, and its net in itself is actually looking to launch their own stablecoin, which potentially could be a saving grace for the XRPL and bring in additional liquidities. Now, we know that when you have a stablecoin on a layer 1, such as the XRPL, it's going to bring a whole world of new use cases. Along with that will be things like DeFi and some other fantastic use cases as well. Now, when it comes to XRP, the majority of investments in the actual token itself have been very speculative. And that's kind of where I placed this video today. We are, of course, looking at XRP as the idea of a speculative investment, assuming that we're going to have very similar outcomes after this case has concluded, that we saw with Kick Interactive and the Kin token. With Kick Interactive, we saw the Kin token classified as a security, fines were paid, and we still saw thousands upon thousands upon thousands of percent in gains, even though the classification was a security. This tells us one very key important thing, that the one metric that really matters is clarity. Once you have clarity, you are able to navigate the legal frameworks without getting yourself on the wrong side of the law. So clarity, one way or the other, is incredibly positive. So whether XRP is a security or not a security, whether you fall on either side of that argument, it generally doesn't matter. We're going to see some fantastic gains, in my humble opinion. There is, of course, a bigger, broader element to all of this when it comes to XRP. And that is, of course, that Ripple versus SEC, or SEC versus Ripple, is critically important for all of crypto. I've mentioned this many times before, and I'll mention it again today. The case between the SEC and Ripple is going to be a benchmark for all other Web3 cases that the SEC looks to bring forward or is currently pursuing. This means that if the SEC were to win this case against Ripple, they can use this as a benchmark, as precedent against any of those other cases, meaning that it's very, very bad for the entire Web3 industry. What we want to see is a Ripple win, because that will set the SEC backwards and prevent them from going after as many Web3 projects as they have been most recently, labeling anything and everything and anything as a security and just seeing what sticks. I do liken the SEC to that kid throwing shit around and just seeing what actually sticks to the wall. Ultimately, I don't like the SEC and their approach to this, regulation through enforcement. I think ultimately what we want to be aiming for is that we want to be aiming for regulations in a more friendly, open manner. We want to see regulators opening their arms, bringing in the industry and listening to what the industry's thoughts and opinions, and trying to actually build a framework for regulations around that. We know that the Howey test is too old, it doesn't fit, and it's very clear and evident in the case against Ripple how the SEC have failed to argue anything decent when it comes to security laws against the XRP token. You can let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below, but I think as a speculative investments go, XRP is one that's worth holding on to for the longer term. Guys, if you haven't already done so, check this video out where we discuss a little bit more about what's going on in the crypto space.